Hi, this is Sue Jackson, and I'm here with another Friday Reads, my weekly reading update, all about what I've been reading and the rest of my family. I've been enjoying Nonfiction November, and I'm still reading A Walk in the Park, the true story of a spectacular misadventure in the Grand Canyon by Kevin Fedarko, and I'm almost finished with it. I should finish it up in the next day or two. I always read nonfiction a little more slowly than novels, but I'm enjoying it very, very much. As the subtitle indicates, this was a spectacular misadventure that Kevin's writing about. So he and his best friend, he's an outdoor writer, his best friend is an outdoor photographer. They often team up on assignments for Outside Magazine or National Geographic, and they get approval to write and photograph a piece about walking the full length of the Grand Canyon, like in the canyon, not along the rim. And so they set off to do this. Well, if you've read Wild by Cheryl Strayed or A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson, this starts similarly. They haven't even attempted to prepare. They show up at the trailhead with brand new equipment, still in the packages, still in the Amazon boxes that they haven't even opened yet. They never tried out their equipment. They never tested anything. They didn't bother getting in shape. If they hadn't been with a group of expert hikers who immediately regretted allowing them to come along, believe me, they probably would have died. So that's how it starts. Obviously, they do learn a lot along the way and gain a lot of hard-won experience. So it is about backpacking and the outdoors, but it's also about Kevin has woven in fascinating information about the history of the Grand Canyon, its natural history, and also its human history. So I was thrilled to discover that this is also a perfect fit for Indigenous History Month. Something that I always mean to participate in, and then because I've got a stack of nonfiction lined up, they never quite align. This was a perfect fit. In addition, his descriptions of what they're seeing and encountering are just fabulous. What he's writing about is so compelling and so fascinating that this is probably why it's taking me so long. Because while I'm reading, I keep picking up my iPad and looking up. They just referenced 209 Mile Road, so I looked that up. One of the experts that they end up hiking with, it said he's an expert in slot canyons. And Kevin describes them descending into these slot canyons and how beautiful they are. And I have to see this. So it turns out the guy that they're with, who's an expert on slot canyons, Rich Rudow, has this whole website of stunning photography of slot canyons in the Grand Canyon. And I just stared at these photos and drooled over them when I should have been reading. So these are narrow little canyons, very, very difficult to access. You either have to have backpacked a long distance or come up from the river and climb up. But in either case, you need climbing gear and the technical skills to do that kind of climbing and rappelling. Look at that. So I have just been utterly fascinated. I stop every 5 minutes to look something up. I wanted more information on the indigenous tribes that he's talking about. The book also includes both black and white photos as well as This is the beginning of their hike with the more experienced backpackers. Who are these clowns? Lots of maps showing exactly where in the canyon they were. So I knew that there's a camp, kind of like a hostel down on the floor of the canyon called Phantom Ranch. And if you're backpacking or you take a mule ride down into the canyon, you can stay overnight there. So I pictured the bottom of the Grand Canyon as flat, with like shoreline on each side of the river. No, in some places there are steep cliffs right from the river all the way up. In other places, and they're like climbing on these little tiny ledges, and it's amazing. Also, I'm not sure why anyone would do this. I like backpacking. This sounds just incredible to me. So there are full color pictures, 2 sets of full color pictures. I've referred back to this one a lot. It shows the geological layers, the different kinds of rock. Some historical pictures, the first white people to explore the canyon. The canyon also has a history of mining before it was made a protected area. That's some of the people that they've been hiking with. Really generous people. So there's another picture of a slot canyon that really that's what got me searching online. There are places where it's very difficult for them to find water. He includes some of the indigenous people that they met. Just a fascinating book. If you like nature, if you like history, if you like adventure stories, I mean, it's got it all. And it's a memoir too. It's about their experiences, their friendship, the challenges they faced. Just an excellent, outstanding book. And I have Sarah at Hiking Outdoor Family Channel to thank for this. When we met up for a hike earlier this year, she brought this to me. So thank you so much, Sarah. I'm really enjoying it. On audio, I finished my first nonfiction book of the month, Gulp by Mary Roach, Adventures on the Alimentary Canal. This was my first Mary Roach. And okay, now I know what everybody's been telling me about. It was wonderful. This one, as the subtitle explains, is all about the gastrointestinal system, from mouth to anus, with everything in between. I understand now why Mary Roach is so uniquely talented in doing this kind of thing. Writing a book about science and human nature as well, that makes things understandable for lay people, takes what could, in other hands, be a very dry subject and makes it absolutely fascinating and compelling. And she's got a great sense of humor. So I was often laughing out loud. In fact, I think I mentioned last week that I was listening to it on audio while we were camping. I was making dinner inside the camper. My husband was grilling the rest of dinner outside, and the window was open, and he could hear me laughing to myself. So when he came in and we sat down to eat, he said, "What was so funny?" So I started telling him about this particularly fascinating part of the book. Some of the funniest things are true stories of some of the historical research that was done before like modern science. Yeah, it was about, I won't get into the gory details, but it was about this guy who got shot in the stomach, and the surgeon, instead of repairing it, which he absolutely could have, as she strongly implies, he kind of left it whole because he was so fascinated that he could see the workings of this man's stomach. And the man who was shot spent the rest of his life being this guy's research animal, basically. And the guy could like lower food on a string through the hole in his stomach and to see how long it took the stomach acids to break it down. So yeah, anyway, My husband asked what was so funny. I was explaining it to him, and he just looked at me in horror and said, "We're eating dinner. You are forbidden from telling me anything else about this book." So it became a running joke between us because I often do that. He goes out to grill and I stay inside to do the vegetable, and I put my earbud in and listen to my book. And there were several other times when, he'd come in and I'd say, "I'm listening to the chapter on saliva. Do you want to hear about it?" No. So absolutely fascinating, often really gross, and incredibly funny, hilarious. I would definitely read another Mary Roach book. So when I finished that, I remembered a nonfiction book that was recommended to me, recommended generally at Booktopia, that book weekend that I attend every year in Vermont. First weekend in May at the Northshire Bookstore in Manchester, Vermont. They have about 8 authors and usually about 100 or so readers. It's just such a fun weekend. And it always kicks off with the booksellers from Northshire telling us about like 4 to 6 of their best picks, usually newish releases. So one of the booksellers talked about this book. And when I finished Gulp, I looked for it on Libby and it was available. So I started it right away. And that's Knife by Salman Rushdie. Now, like everyone else in the world, I know him because of the fatwa, the death sentence that was put on him years ago when he wrote the novel The Satanic Verses. I have never read anything by him before. This is actually a memoir about his recent experiences when he was at an author event in Western New York, not too far from my hometown of Rochester, and someone attacked him with a knife. Just ran up on stage and attacked him with a knife. He put his left hand up to defend himself, so his left hand got all cut up. His torso and chest were all cut up. Most horrifying of all, the guy put the knife into his eye, so he completely lost the use of his right eye. And it's his recounting of this experience and the very, very long road back to recovery, not just physically, but emotionally too. The nightmares that he had, what he and his wife went through, how they had finally thought that they were free and safe from all the business with the fatwa years ago. And now all of a sudden they feel like they're not safe again. It is such a moving, compelling story. And I'm discovering that he is an excellent writer. So I have a question for all of you. Like I said, I've never read anything by Salman Rushdie before. I would love to read one of his novels because he's an excellent writer. So if you've read anything by him and you recommend it, let me know in the comments down below. I would really like to read something, a novel by him, because that's what he's best known for. I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through that, maybe a little further even, and it's just been excellent. I can see why the bookseller recommended it, and yeah, I would recommend it as well. My husband has been reading a book that I loved this summer, Bridge by Lauren Bucas. This was one of my big book summer reads and one of my favorite books of the year. It's about a young woman who can travel to alternate realities. So she can basically move into, her name is Bridget, she can move into other Bridgets in other alternate worlds to see like different paths that her life could have taken. So what happens is her mother's the one that showed her how to do this. And her mother has died of brain cancer, but she gets it in her head that maybe her mother must be alive in one of these other realities. So she goes cruising through all these other realities, trying to find a version of the world where her mother's still alive. It is, I mean, I love stuff like this. Anything that plays with time like that, I just find it endlessly fascinating, endlessly thought-provoking. You know, you can't help thinking, what would I do if I had the ability to do this? It's an excellent book, great character development, lots of suspense, lots of unexpected twists. I loved it. My husband's only about a quarter of the way through. It's football season and now basketball season too. These things used to have different seasons and now it's all like overlapped. And he watched baseball last week as well. So the sports don't have seasons anymore, it seems. So yeah, since he retired, he's gotten really into watching sports on TV in the evening, and it's seriously cutting into his reading time. But he is enjoying it so far. And I have no idea what our son is reading. Our older son is an avid reader, mostly epic fantasy. And since we were together a month ago at that lake house that we rented together, I've been texting with him, but I have no idea what he's reading. So, bad mom. I will check on that this week. In the meantime, I'd like to know what you're reading. Please let me know in the comments down below.